heroes start dying off, and that's part of life, I guess. But it certainly doesn't make it any less jarring when we lose somebody like Toby Keith.
Yeah, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. Certainly very sad. And I honestly had not heard that about him battling cancer. So, and I did hear something about this picture that where he didn't look all that good. But sad news to wake up to here on a Tuesday morning. Other things going on though. Basketball tonight. Obviously, your thoughts on South Carolina now finally being ranked. It's irrelevant. It really is. It's bracketology that means more to me. I'd rather South Carolina be a 4 seed in one of the bracketologist thing than be ranked. They're both in Jerry Palm, so that works. But your take on South Carolina finally getting this ranking and it being 15?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I think about it is that when you're building a program, and Frank Martin mentioned this when he was here. He said, the thing is they play your highlights and they put your scores up if you're top 25. Across so your program gets more mentions. There, what about 400 Division I basketball programs now? And so you get a little bit more media exposure. I don't know for the life of me. I don't understand why there's a 5 space discrepancy between the coaches poll and the AP poll, but as irrelevant as the AP poll is, I think the coaches poll is probably even more so these days. Yeah, you want to have a high net. You want to have a great resume, and when you look at Lenore, Jerry Palm, those guys, it's a little bit more comforting when you're when you're not on the bubble with those guys, as opposed to being ranked or not ranked. I'd rather not be ranked and be a nice, safely in the tournament team than be ranked and be on the bubble. So that's a testament to Carolina that the bracketologist got out in front of it. That's really what matters. But certainly first time ranked since 2017, and that's a testament. There's been very few times this program through the years has been ranked, so that's good news. They were ranked a lot in the 70s, but other than that, those 2 years under Fogler, and then here and there they've jumped up in there maybe most of the time in December. So to be ranked this late and to have the record they do, that's nothing short of amazing. I don't want to say a miracle because I think they've got a good team. I don't think there's been anything flukish about this, but it's been let's call it a pleasant surprise for those of us that have followed the program through the years.
It's a good point when you say amazing because of what we thought about this team, Elijah, this season. I think you're right, JC. A miracle. I agree with how you phrase that. Amazing is given what if you'd have asked anybody, I don't know how much money you would have won if you'd have said, hey, in October, will this team ever be ranked in 2023, 2024? Elijah, that's a good point by JC.
Yeah, those odds wouldn't have been low by any means, or high, I guess, by any means. I mean, we're probably talking, well, I would say plus 500 or something like that too. I mean, they're picked to be last in the SEC. The fact that they're ranked at all is pretty significant. And a lot of, I guess, national prognosticators weren't as excited about the transfer portal additions, but go back and look at it now. I mean, it made a lot of sense. Talked about in the last hour. BJ Mack, big time scorer at Wofford. He's used to having an offense run through him. Talon Cooper has NCAA tournament experience. Miles Studi was a lights out shooter at Vanderbilt. And that program has been up and down. So, I mean, honestly, it makes more sense now when you see it in person, see it play out. And when you see that they're able to get guys that come from other schools and be able to gel so quickly, it makes a little more sense. But yeah, not miracle status, but incredibly, you would have made a lot of money if that prop bet would have been available. And you could put money on them being like top 15.
And JC, one of the things that we just brought up, I think in the last segment or 2 segments ago, was the experience of this team. What Elijah just said, bringing in guys with a lot of basketball experience in Studi and Mack and Cooper. And that experience, it's interesting to see it play out right in front of your eyes with what South Carolina's doing.
Yeah, and they didn't all come from like super winning programs. I mean, we were talking to Isaac Trotter from 24/7 Sports on Inside the Gamecocks show last week, and he said, basketball circles, that's kind of a rule of thumb. I don't think it matters in football, to be honest, but in basketball, it's like guys that come from winning programs or tend to be what coaches gravitate toward. And you looked at it, and Minnesota wasn't very good, Vanderbilt wasn't very good, Wofford's a mid-major, and so there's some skepticism, but it's not about the teams they came from. It's about who they are. and how they fit. And I don't think Lamont Paris had the players to do what he wanted to do last year, or the roster to do it, or the buy-in to do it, being in his first year. And that's just completely flipped. And I mean, it starts with Talon Cooper, and people looked at everybody looks at scoring average and field goal percentage, when they're kind of trying to determine things. And me too. I'm guilty as well. And you look, he's about, 30% shooter from three, 40% overall, but his assist to turnover ratio last year, Minnesota, it was sick. And you watch some of his film and some of the passes he made and the way he could distribute the ball, and you're like, well, that's the key here, and it's played out that way. He is a tremendous example of buy-in, and it's affected this whole game, because now I think people would say he's a pretty good shooter, especially in clutch moments. And you've got him. Miles Studi, of course, is a danger from three. I think he hustles really well, gets on the board.
Pineville at 378, US 378 accident.
If you're an opponent, because he'll get out there and bury you from three. If he's not doing that, if he's having an off night shooting,
the I-77 is gone. It's been cleared up.
The best pump fake in college basketball. And then it's not just that; it's the guys that have come back. Michi Johnson's better than he was last year. I think that Josh Gray gets better every week or every game we see. And Zach Davis is a much improved player. Jacoby Wright came on last year and is really good and settled into his role. Even a guy like Benjamin Bosmans-Verdonk, I know he hasn't played a lot lately, but that guy in the preseason, last year he was kind of like, it looked a little lost, that kind of thing. And now, he knows when he goes in, his job is to eat some fouls and get some boards. And he's all over the boards and playing like his hair's on fire when he's in. So, you look at all that, and then a guy like Morris Ucasuck, who wasn't supposed to play. He wasn't supposed to play, and so he's out there.
Let me hit a break real quick. We'll come back. We'll finish that. You're listening to the early game.
Game Network, the home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game in Columbia, 100.5 The Game in Florence, 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. Also on the 107.5 The Game app and streaming live on The Game TV. Powered by Integrated Media, The Game TV. Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality. The Game TV.
Valentine's Day is almost a week away. Do you have your dinner plans, or maybe you're saving your dinner plans? Maybe you kind of like me and you just enjoy eating in at the house and relaxing. And if so, I tell you what, Old Timey Meat Market in their 3 locations, Irmo, South Congaree, and Lexington, they have got the perfect deal for you right now. $59.99. You can get 2 10-ounce ribeyes. That's right, 2 10-ounce ribeyes. Absolutely fantastic deal. And 2 lobster tails for just $59.99. That's right. Heart-shaped ribeyes, 20 ounces total, 2 10-ounce ribeyes, and 2 lobster tails, $59.99. Go visit one of the great Old Timey Meat Market locations, Irmo, South Congaree on Main Street, and Lexington, and find out just how great Old Timey Meat Market really is. Carl Derrick and his family, they've done fantastic taking care of our families. Find out for yourself. Go visit Old Timey Meat Market today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
Do you know the secret to losing up to 1 pound of fat every day? I'm Dr. Mark Bentley with Columbia Secret for Weight Loss, and I know the secret. Our unique weight loss program makes it easy to lose weight, get healthy, and get your energy back naturally, safely, and effectively. If you'd like to lose unhealthy fat without counting points or calories, no exercising, no prepackaged or boxed meals, no surgery, and no hypnosis,
Punxsutawney Phil has an overall accuracy rating of 36% nationally. This was in 2021, 36% nationally. Now, those numbers can get skewed a little bit because in the Northeast, it tends to be colder for longer. But when you extrapolate his numbers out for the rest of the regions in the Southwest, the Southeast, Punxsutawney Phil the fraud only gets up to 50% nationally. Only 50%. You're saying, oh, what does that mean? That's still pretty good. It's not. It's not. There are 6 other rodent prognosticators that are above Punxsutawney Phil. Number 1, our guy, General Beauregard Lee. General Beauregard Lee has a 63% accuracy rating nationally, 70% when you extrapolate it for just the South. This guy is crushing Punxsutawney Phil, but yet we still are talking about Punxsutawney Phil. He's a fraud, Bill. He's a fraud. Not only that, Buckeye Chuck. This guy, Buckeye Chuck, is crushing. He's number 2. But you know who else is ahead of him? Let me go to my list.
Who exactly is Buckeye Chuck?
Buckeye Chuck is in Ohio, Bill.
Makes sense.
It's bad. Thank goodness we got to
Buckeye
that
Chuck
one.
is in Ohio. But let's go to this list. We got Jimmy the Groundhog.
Oh, just Jimmy.
Jimmy the Groundhog. Lander Lil. Stormy the Marmot. Smomish Slew. Finally, after all of those guys, we come down to Punxsutawney Phil. But who gets all the credit? Who gets all the notoriety? Punxsutawney Phil. And it's only because he was there a long, long time ago. He was an originator. I'll give you credit. He was an originator. But the game of guessing and predicting weather has passed him by. He's a fraud. It's overrated. It's time for him to get out the game. Give the throne to General Beauregard Lee. All I'm saying is he's overrated. All of this celebration. These people.
Yeah, you got to get this live stream. We're watching.
It's not about.
How would you describe this?
There's a big
singer?
celebration on, but you know what about these people? It's not about the game anymore. It's about something else. They have ruined the celebrity prognosticator game for these rodents because these guys are working hard. Buckeye Chuck,
Are they?
he's working. He's accurately predicting things. Beauregard Lee, 70%. And he can't get any love across the South. No love. Everybody talks about Punxsutawney Phil. I'm saying it right now. If Punxsutawney Phil gets this wrong today, get him out of here.
I'm going to go with
Put
the
him-
odds are not good.
Put him in the garbage. 36%, of course it's not good. It's what he does nationally.
To move pretty slowly
10.
here. And then in Lexington County, Priceville Road at US 378, an accident has recently been reported to be impacting traffic over there.
I appreciate you hitting that fade to black because you're in real time. I'm on a delay.
Talking about. Sponsored by Love Chevrolet. On your home of the Gamecocks. In Columbia, 107.5 The Game. Also heard on 100.
Mentally, I'm in a delay too.
And 100.5 The Game in Florence.
7:36 as we get you going here on your Tuesday morning. JC Sherbert joining us. I apologize, JC. I have a meeting with the bosses right after it. They get angry if we go over the 7:30 mark. So we were right up against it. But as you were kind of finishing up there, your point, Josh Gray in particular, you mentioned him an improvement, 15 points, 8 rebounds in the last game. This is a young man that, according to some people that when I worked with you and ESPN, that I got to know some scouts who are now in the NBA that were very intrigued by Josh Gray, mainly because he's 7 foot. He is a hulking. He's not a rail thin 7-footer either. He is a hulking monster of a 7-footer. And in the NBA, you don't have to ask him to score. You have to ask him to block shots, play a little defense, be physical, and you have 6 fouls. But his improvement really in the last 4 or 5 games is really impressive.
Yeah, and I think it kind of started last year. He's a guy that needed some confidence, but it's kind of the C words, confidence and consistency. I mean, you can get confidence based on some good performances, but then if you don't have consistency, it can get back and get away from you pretty quick. And I think that's kind of what was happening earlier this year with Josh. And I think around the Arkansas game, he likes Arkansas because he had 20 and 15 against them last year. It had what I consider to be a breakout out there in that win when this 5-game win streak started. I think sometimes bigger guys, they don't know that they're that big and athletic, and it takes them a while to kind of figure that out. Oh, I can just go up. Nobody's really going to stop me if I do this. And it's not just dunking the basketball. It's just playing, in control. And when it gets to them the low post, knowing what to do with it, sometimes they'll pass it out, and I think those have been positive moments as well, because a lot of times in the past, he's kind of a turnover waiting to happen at times and get the ball slapped out or whatever. So he's been huge the last couple of weeks. And, I don't know that if in late December, if you just said this is a team with an outstanding post presence, outside of BJ Mack, but now that Josh Gray and Colin Murray Boyles have come on, South Carolina can attack you, as Georgia found out, on the inside as well as the perimeter. And that's huge because your shots, there's days where your shots aren't going to fall from the outside. That's just basketball. And so having those two and 3 guys on the inside, I think become bigger and bigger as the season goes on.
803-404-6100. That is tonight. Again, coverage starts right here on 107.5 The Game, 100.3 The Game at 6 o'clock. Game time, tip-off time. Again, 30 minutes earlier tonight, 6:30. I don't know if Elijah can carry this conversation, so I'm going to jump to JC real quick because he's I don't think you're necessarily my age, Elijah.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
No,
and I'm
not
41,
quite.
so
Not quite.
JC, I bring this up. This wasn't on my list of things to mention, but I just happened to see this.
You old people.
Twitter again. 35 years ago yesterday, the passing of Joe Morrison. And I remember it. I bawled. Like Joe Morrison, I was 5, I think, or 6, 5 or 6. I had 5, 6. I don't know, something like that. I was young. I was real young. And I cried like I'd lost, a family member. What do you remember about the passing of Joe Morrison back on February 6th, 1989?
Yeah, I was 12. I had, I said 88 was the year before, and we had, me and my dad had gone to George Felton. Actually, speaking of ranked basketball teams, he had a ranked team that year. That's the team that won the NCAA tournament, and there was these plays holiday tournaments in Atlanta, and down at the Omni, it's called the Cotton States Classic, kind of Peach Bowl tournament or whatever. We went down to South Carolina to play LaSalle. They got beat, and we were running into some guys that had been driving from Memphis in that miserable Liberty Bowl, straight through to Atlanta to see the Gamecocks play hoops. And we were having a conversation about just all the turmoil around the program at the time, and then, I remember my dad came and woke me up middle of the night, said, hey, I guess it was around 11. So, it was the middle of the night for a kid going to bed. Joe Morrison died. And that was a sad day. There's a lot of speculation as to what would happen to Coach Joe, even if he had lived. I don't know. I don't know what would have happened, but that was tough. Bill, he was the first coach that I think sort of embraced being at South Carolina. The fans just absolutely loved the guy. He was his personality fit with his fan base, and then of course the '84 Gamecocks are legendary. He had 2 pretty good teams in '87, '88. Of course, the scandal was not all that good, but he had it going. And then unfortunately, he died. It was during that point in time, I don't think South Carolina was very good at conducting coaching searches in any sport, and landed on Sparky Woods, who did the best he could, and actually did a lot of good for a while. But there's a lot of what might have been positively and negatively had that not happened at South Carolina that I think a lot of us think about from time to time.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear people talk about it because it is polarizing. What may have happened with the scandal that I guess you would say was brewing. I don't know if it had reached peak at that point. There had been the Sports Illustrated article. There's people, I think, JC, as you just kind of alluded to, that think that maybe Morrison would not have made it through the offseason as South Carolina's head coach. There's people that think maybe if he did make it, who knows what happens with the program and are they in a better place? I forget real quick, what was at that point in 89, had the decision been made, or where was South Carolina in the discussions of SEC? Because I want to say, was it 90 or 91 that it was announced basically during the Virginia Tech game that they would be joining the SEC?
Yeah, it was coming at the time. I'm not sure as far as the administration know, but it was sort of, the wheels were turning. Now, when Fiasco search number 2 during that period, of course, was Steve Newton. They knew they were going to the SEC at that point. This, I don't know. It's hard for me to say. I just know that hire was done on the extreme cheap. And at the time, South Carolina had some of the best facilities in the country. Why would you not want to go get, anyway, there's a lot of discussion on that one, but Sparky came in and did an admirable job. But yeah, I'm not sure, Bill, quite if they knew about the SEC yet or not. I knew it came pretty quickly shortly thereafter, though, and changed the trajectory of the athletic program forever. So that was a positive. But certainly I think the argument can be made at the time. South Carolina didn't really do what South Carolina needed to do to prepare to be in the SEC from a personnel standpoint. Mike McGee got in and fixed a lot of the personnel issues, but kind of let the facility. So it took till 13 years for this program to really say, okay, here's what you got to do in this league. And fortunately, here in 2024, they're doing it just as well as anybody.
803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in on that this morning. If you remember something about that, JC, a good person to have that discussion with real quick, because, yeah, that was a 89. I don't want to know your age. I don't want to know, Elijah. We'll come back. We'll wrap things up here. Hour 2. You're listening to the early game.
The Game Network. The home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 100.5 The Game in Florence. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. Also on the 107.5 The Game app and streaming live on The Game TV.
Spring is coming, which is kind of our equivalent of the rainy season. And you know what? Rain, it's not good for roofs. And if you've got a leak in your roof, well, you need to let Mid-State Roofing take a peek. For nearly 30 years, Mid-State Roofing has been the proven leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry, and they're ready to help you. Give them a phone call today, 803-356-1919. Again, that's 803-356-1919. Here's the thing about Mid-State Roofing. If you have a leak, Mid-State Roofing has a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week call center. That's right. You can call no matter the time, and you're going to speak with a trained technician. You'll speak with someone. You're not leaving a voicemail hoping they'll call you back. If you've got a leak, Mid-State Roofing is there to protect your roof. So call today and get a maintenance contract lined up. 803-356-1919, or you can visit them on the web, midstateroofing.com. Again, that's midstateroofing.com. If you've got a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek.
Got something to say? Ring us up on the Love Chevy phone line. South Carolina's #1 volume Chevy dealer. At 803-404-6100. Your home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game.
This is Boomer Esiason with the CBS Sports Minute. Not too long ago, a Las Vegas Super Bowl would have seemed totally ridiculous. Back in 2003, the NFL vetoed a proposed Vegas Convention Bureau Super Bowl commercial touting Sin City's charms. As recently as 2015, the league banned then Cowboys quarterback Tony Romo from hosting a fantasy football convention at the Venetian. I'm Boomer Esiason.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now.
800-583-5795.
Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. There is zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have a 5-star rating on Google and Yelp and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-583-5795. That's 800-583-5795. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
When you're rolling Charmin ultra soft on the potty, less is more, so roll it back, everybody. Charmin's irresistible.
Our pitching right now is very similar to what our hitters were last year at this time. A little unproven. People had some question marks or who's going to step up, who's going to be the go-to guys. But we feel pretty confident internally that we're going to have guys that can do the job. Last year at this time, people were wondering about our offense, but we kind of knew what Gavin Costas was going to be. We knew that Cole Messina had made some big improvements, and there are pitchers on our staff now that we feel the exact same. So last year our offense proved to be much better than anybody anticipated, and our hope and our goal right now is that our pitching, while it's being questioned a little bit right now, we think internally we have enough guys to really get the job done.
7:49 as we wrap things here up with JC Sherbert. Appreciate him as always for joining us. A little late this morning. I was a little late, but JC, real quick, let's get into it. You heard Shane Beamer last week introduce Joe DeCamillis. One of the questions we received here, wanted to ask you, just what are you hearing on the health of Rocket Sanders? Sounds like at minimum he'll be out for half of spring practice and will be limited if he is able to come back.
Yeah, they knew this coming in. He's got to get healthy, and that's what you want. You want him to get healthy. I understand that we're going to hear about this for a long, long time, given the history with injuries around here. But this is something that they knew when they recruited him, that they're going to, he's going to have to rest up and rehab, get ready for the summer to get back in shape and be ready to roll. But that's what's important. It's important for him to be ready for the season. Not the spring game, trust me, because he's a proven guy, and certainly they want him back as close to that 2022 level, Rocket Sanders, as he can be, and that's just going to require rehab and rest, a little R&R. So I don't want to sit here and downplay injuries, at all, because I've found that through the years that kind of get burnt that way because you never know. That said, it's early February and it's just not something that's really even on my radar right now, other than he's got to get healthy by the season. They want him back to 2022. Rocket Sanders, they think if that happens, he can be special. And I think you definitely want special. That guy can be a real difference maker if he's good to go. Even at 2023 level when he played, he was pretty good. He wasn't terrible. He let Florida didn't stop very many people at all, but that game in the Swamp, he had a really good game. So he's capable, and they're just going to
I-26 between Augusta Road and Airport Boulevard is an accident. I-26 between Augusta Road and Airport Boulevard.
Seeing the evolution of college football and money, $62 million to Missouri. What does that mean for a university when you get that? How does a university divvy that out, in your opinion?
Well, $50 million of it's going to their stadium project. which, Carolina said people give money for various building funds and stuff. The interesting part was the NIL portion of it. And so the gift is going to an arm of their athletic department that, my Missouri expert that I know, that I trust, says it's essentially NIL. It's not their collective. It's an arm of their university, which, Missouri state laws for NIL are a bit different than South Carolina's. And so I guess they're facilitating $12 million worth of NIL. I think the tendency, just like with a lot of things concerning NIL, is to panic and to go, oh my God, we're never going to catch up. Don't buy into that lie. South Carolina's growing their NIL. There's going to be some things here in the next few months that come around that, you'll see and stuff. And just don't think because some other team makes a big announcement that, oh, there's no way poor little Gamecocks will catch up. That's hogwash. South Carolina's got the fan base, the support, the passion, the financial wherewithal to compete with just about everybody. So that I saw just a lot of unfortunate negative reactions to that as it pertained to the Gamecocks, and that really doesn't help the cause at all to just throw up your hands and give up when there are a lot of people, working around the clock to try to have an excellent NIL situation at Carolina and who are well on their way. So I would encourage everybody to not pay attention to things like that. I know the 5-game losing streak to Missouri probably plays into that a little bit, and that's a different subject. But I do think getting their stadium paid for with a donation like that's pretty good, because they don't have to finance it, debt. So that's a pretty good game changer for the Tigers and Ferret Field and all that good stuff.
Interesting. We'll see. Obviously, we still wait on the project for South Carolina down by the football field, what everything will do and money and all that good stuff. So you never know how. It is interesting to hear you talk about that with the $50 million going to the football stadium again, what South Carolina will do there with Williams-Brice Stadium with that land as well. Buddy, we always appreciate it. A little bit later this morning. That's on me, not on you. You were up and ready to go. But we will definitely continue to do this next Tuesday. And hopefully next Tuesday we'll still be talking about a ranked South Carolina basketball team.
All right, brother. Take it easy, man.
You too. Take care. JC Sherbert with thebigspur.com joining us each and every Tuesday as he does here. And coming up in the next hour, we'll get back into more basketball talk. We'll also talk a little Super Bowl. Deebo Samuel winning the Super Bowl with his son there, and Brock Purdy drafted last for a reason. That's an interesting discussion as well as it pertains to Spencer Rattler coming off the Senior Bowl.
It does, yeah. The evaluation season.
We'll get into that a little bit. We'll test Elijah Campbell's football evaluating skill as well. Hour 3 on the way. Again, Jeff Borzillo due up about 8:15 this morning. We'll talk some national college basketball, where South Carolina fits in. You're listening to Elijah Campbell, Bill Gunner. He's producer Ed Bird. It's the early game. Bill Gunner for Love Chevrolet, the #1 dealership. They say Chevy dealership, but I say dealership here in the Midlands. Why? Because it's not always about great prices and great selection. Yeah, that's important. Don't get me wrong. Love Chevrolet has the absolute largest selection of vehicles anywhere, 14 acres. And, of course, they have the best prices available. They promise not to sell above MSRP. And, of course, they have the $1,000 low price guarantee. But you know what makes Love Chevrolet really stand out? It's the customer service, the kindness, the way that they treat you from the second you come on that lot. Purchasing a car these days, it can be, a little stressful. But at Love Chevrolet, they don't allow it to be stressful. They take care of you. They do it with integrity. They do it with a smile. And they do it by being honest. That's why they've taken care of the Midlands for over 60 years, doing it with integrity, doing it with honesty, doing it the right way. If you're in the market for a brand new car, truck, or SUV, get out to Love Chevrolet today. And together, let's drive.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 107.5 The Game. A great selection of new Chevys is available now at Herndon Chevrolet. The lot is packed with inventory and more is on the way. So shop your hometown Chevy dealer today. Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
Brakes for less is what we do. We know drum.
Wetzel's Automotive in West Columbia. Wetzel'sAuto.com.
From the WIS Traffic Center, I'm Elijah Campbell with a few accidents to report to you that might be causing some delays on the roadways this Tuesday morning. We'll start off with a couple of road closures due to railroad repairs and maintenance. That would be on Harbison Boulevard, both northbound and southbound near St. Andrews Road, as well as Highway 60, both northbound and southbound near St. Andrews Road. A couple of accidents that we have, one in Lexington County and Priceville Road at US 378. That's causing
30
delays over in Lexington County. In West Columbia on I-26 eastbound between Augusta Road and exit 111 and Airport Boulevard. An accident has recently been reported. It's a traffic
20
slowly through there for about the last 30 minutes or so. And lastly, just now reported in Lexington County an accident on Andrew Corley Road at North Lake Drive, making traffic moving a little slowly through that area.
WNKT FM, Eastover, Columbia.
This is Gamecock Athletics Director Ray Tanner, and you're listening to 107.5 The Game,
A Cumulus media station.
the early game.
With Bill Gunter.
I love me some me.
Former Gamecock Preston Thorne.
I don't yuck anybody's yums.
And Jen Jensen.
Let's play a little game real quick.
Boy.
Jen, somebody calls you and says, Bill's coming on with us. Bill Gunner's coming on with us later. How should we refer to him?
Schmo.
There you go.
Your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia. 107.5 The Game.
Fine. I'm the one that can't do it. Kids, don't be like me. Be more like Jen.
Be tough.
Be tough. That's right. Unlike me, be tough.
Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach.
The theme of this show. I don't know what happened.
And 100.5 The Game in Florence.
Coming up in about 15 minutes, Jeff Borzillo of ESPN will join us. We'll talk about South Carolina, where they are, which is number 15 in the polls, where they're going. Could they win an SEC regular season championship? It's worth discussing. It's not out of the realm. Look, you beat Tennessee on the road. You beat Kentucky at home. Kentucky's got defensive issues. But if you beat those two teams, you handle your business in the manner that you have already to this date. It's not like it's people are like, oh, you got to win. There's 9 more games. You got to win probably 7 of them. Well, what have they done so far? They had an awful 10 minutes where they didn't make free throws against Georgia. Mm-hmm. They had an awful half against Alabama. Other than that, I mean, it's about 30 minutes of bad basketball. And that might be actually being fair. 30 minutes of bad basketball over, I don't know, you can do the quick math.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's tough.
What is that? 40 minutes, 9 games, 360 minutes. Is that right? Did I do that correctly?
You're a lot closer at getting an actual number there than I would have on the spot. Whether it's right or not, that's good. But that sounds about right.
It's, the point being is this team has, look, I know that we're not accustomed to it. I get it that it's hard to say, hey, I think this is possible. But 22 games now, South Carolina's shown consistency in its basketball team. I mean, you obviously, yes, you can, if you want to pick and choose what the final, was it 7 minutes of the Clemson game? Again, some free throws down the stretch of the Georgia game. The final, I'll just say the final 10 minutes of the Georgia game. And then, I get it. The last 20 minutes of the Alabama game was ugly.
Fell into a trap, not a basketball trap, but trying to play a game you're not accustomed to playing kind of trap.
Exactly. And so we'll see. We'll catch up with Jeff Borzillo coming up here to talk about the current ranking and also what the Gamecocks have to do as they move forward through the remainder of the season. Certainly very interesting. Do want to tell you about the Balls and Strikes Valentine's Weekend contest brought to you by the Hilton Garden Inn. It's your chance to win tickets for the season opening series versus Miami of Ohio, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It is a week and a half away almost, February 16th through the 18th. How about that? Baseball season. I know a bunch of you love it. You love getting out to Founders Park. I know our good buddy Jan Bennett is ready to tailgate. He's already making tailgate plans. I believe he's already started cooking. So I know that people around here love their baseball season, love their their baseball team here. And right now, we're giving you a chance to win season opening series, not game, but season opening series tickets to the Friday, Saturday, Sunday series against Miami of Ohio. You also get a 2-night stay, Friday and Saturday night, at the Hilton Garden Inn on Gervais Street. The Garden Grill at the Hilton Garden Inn will feed you breakfast and your pregame meal. All you got to do is go to 1075thegame.com to register. Again, go to 1075thegame.com, get yourself registered, and you can go hang out and enjoy the opening weekend series. That is next Friday, Saturday, Sunday. What better Valentine's gift to give your significant other than registering? And we'll have the drawing coming up very soon. I'll get to the information on that as well. But your chance to win tickets, season opening series, go and register now. 1075thegame.com is where you can go and register for that. A week away. A week away is a little more than a week away, given that today is Tuesday. But baseball, we'll have Kip Bulknight on coming up with us in the next few days, as well as several other baseball guests as we get ready for the start of the season. 803-404-6100 is how you can weigh in. Marshall weighs in on the Firehouse Subtext line. He says you could see what they learned from the bad half of basketball against Alabama and in the Georgia game. When Georgia got super hot in the first, he said, referring to this past weekend's Georgia game, he says, when Georgia got super hot in the first half from three-point line, we avoided empty possessions, still ran our basketball plan, weathered the storm, and knew they couldn't keep shooting like that.
Marshall nailed it. I mean, and not just that Georgia game where you see they learned that lesson, the Tennessee game too, because Tennessee, when they want to, they can get up and down the floor. And they did that against Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt, when they played Tennessee, slowed the game down, kind of did what South Carolina did, slowed the game down, limited possessions. And then at halftime, Rick Barnes, put a boot in them, and they went out at Memorial Gym and completely ran away with the pace of that game, completely changed how the game was played in the second half. So when it was halftime of that game, the Tennessee game, I was like, what Tennessee's going to try to do is, get the ball out underneath the net quick if South Carolina scores, or if not, immediately hit your outlet passes, get in transition, and try to change the pace of this game that's going to be more in their favor. And they never could do that.
They did. I disagree with you. I talked about this. Yes, Tennessee did. And look, I talked about this last Wednesday. There were two pivotal moments in that Tennessee game.
Mm-hmm.
Number one was when Meechie Johnson in the second half had about a 3-minute stretch where he forgot that there were 4 other Gamecock players on the floor. He launched a very long 3. He launched a bad 3, and then he missed a layup. And in that stretch, and I believe South Carolina was up 3 at that point. I believe it was 48-45. Tennessee couldn't make a basket. They would have either tied it or who knows what would have happened. They couldn't take advantage, and Talon Cooper hit a 3 from the wing to put South Carolina back up 6, and that's when I went, I think South Carolina's going to win this thing. Like, Meechie just kind of lost his mind on what he was doing, and Talon Cooper. The other is what you were talking about. Tennessee, South Carolina hit, I believe, a 3, hit either a 2 or 3. They went up 33-25 to start the second half,
mm-hmm.
or 34-25, I believe. I think it was 33-25. Hit a shot, and it looked like South Carolina to start the half might run away. Well, Tennessee went on an 8-0 run and tied it up at 33-33. And what had happened is they had gotten that up and down rhythm going. They had started flowing. If you remember, they hit a 3 that tied it to make it 33, very beginning of the half. And all of a sudden, for whatever reason, the official said, whoa, we don't feel like running that much. We're going to call multiple. They called 3 fouls in the span of 3 seconds, if you remember that.
Mm-hmm.
And it just broke everything that Tennessee tried to do. It stopped the game. It agitated the fan base. It frustrated the basketball team. And South Carolina would score on that possession to go up 35-33. And it just broke the tempo. It actually broke the tempo of what Tennessee wanted to do all game, and they never got it back. Mm-hmm. And South Carolina has done that this year, where the vast majority, they didn't do it against Alabama, but they've broken the tempo of what people want to do. And when they seem to break it, it's not that they give it, they strangle you, they suffocate you. They pull that anaconda defense where they just suffocate the life of an offense and slow the game down, and fast-paced teams start to notice it. That happened to Kentucky. All of a sudden, you could tell mentally they went, this possession matters. We can't score. All right, next possession really matters. We can't score on that one either. Oh, goodness, we have to score on this. Nope, didn't do that either.
Yeah, and the thing is, too, the way South Carolina plays defense, there's multiple ways that they can slow the game down. but the way that they chest the ball defensively by just staying in front of it. I mean, they don't have to move. They don't have to move you places, but they will stay in front of you because what are the main shots that Dalton Connect was shooting in that second half? Contested mid-range pull-up jumpers. They're very low percentage shots. And usually to get that shot, it takes some pounding the air out of the ball and having to move clock a little bit. And even though you might get into your actions quicker, getting a contested pull-up mid-range jumper oftentimes will take 10 to 15 seconds if that's the shot you have to resort to. And they had to shoot a lot of those. And I think that's kind of the whole crux of South Carolina's defense is we don't want you to get a lot of threes. We don't want you to get a ton at the rim. If you do, it's going to be contested. But we want to get you to shoot that 15-foot pull-up with a hand in your face.
One other thing, keep an eye on tonight, Basketball Strategy 101, and you do this in college basketball, is when you can force the opposition to spend about 20 seconds trying to get into their offense. And all of a sudden they're down to 15 seconds to run what they want to run. Then it's forced to go one-on-one. They've done a good job of that by mixing up the 1-3-1, occasionally doing a little bit of pressing, confusing teams with a zone. That's coaching. And again, I want to emphasize, because the more you watch it, people always go, man, BJ Mack had a good game. Oh, did you watch Colin Murray-Boyles? Josh Gray, wow, nice job. Lamont Paris is making in-game coaching moves to put his team in a position to win. It's been very, very impressive to date. 803-404-6100. What's here? We'll catch up with a guru. We'll catch up with Jeff Borzillo with ESPN, guy that I used to work with, does a fantastic job covering college basketball. We'll get his take on basketball as a whole and where South Carolina is going at this particular time. You're listening to Elijah Campbell. I'm Bill Gunner. He's producer Ed Bird. It is the early game.
The Game Network. The home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 100.5 The Game in Florence. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. Also on the 107.5 The Game app and streaming live on The Game TV. Download the 107.5 The Game app and listen anywhere. The beach, the gym, and yes, even there. Go to iTunes or Google Play and snag the 107.5 The Game app.
Oh, we've got a busy week for you. Reminder, tonight, South Carolina and Mississippi basketball pregame. Right here, 107.5 The Game is where you can catch the pregame show. 6 p.m. tonight, tip-off scheduled for 6:30. And then tomorrow night, we'll have Thursday night, we'll have the women's game. Missouri here in Columbia. Pregame for that will be at 6:30 p.m. on WISW. Again, pregame for the women's game Thursday night, 6:30 on WISW, because at 6 o'clock on Thursday night, we'll be having the Lamont Paris Carolina Calls call-in show right here on 107.5 The Game. So again, lots of basketball this week for you to consume right here, 107.5 The Game. Tonight, 6 p.m. pregame, 6:30 tip time. Thursday night, 6:30 pregame on WISW, 7 o'clock tip-off right here for the women versus Missouri. All that right here, 107.5 The Game this week.
107.5 The Game. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. Discover Herndon Certified. Herndon Chevrolet's premier used car warranty. Shop with complete confidence knowing Herndon Chevrolet has got you covered. Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
With approved credit. Have you ever heard an ad for a really great sale but thought to yourself, my credit score isn't where it needs to be? If that's you, then listen up. The great team at JT's Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram doesn't want you to miss out over credit concerns. It's President's Month, and we've got prices and programs that can make what seems impossible possible. Jamarcus in Columbia and Tanya in Kershaw both had shaky credit, yet they're driving new vehicles they just got from JT's. Now with 2 locations, 378 Lexington and Greystone Boulevard. JT's Jeep Dodge Ram. President's Day sales event.
What was that?
What was what?
That. There it is again. Okay, you've got to be hearing that.
I'll go up and see what it is.
Well?
It was nothing. Must have been a dream. Now, good night.
Sounding like a party in your attic? Call the experts at Critter Ritter today at 803-808-1808. That's 803-808-1808. Or find us online at critterritter.net.
107.5 The Game is giving one local business a free 30-second commercial on Western One's broadcast of the Super Bowl. right here on 107.5 The Game. Just go to 1075thegame.com and tell us why your business deserves an ad that will reach sports fans across the Midlands. Only one entry per local business, and entries must be submitted by February 7th at 5 p.m. For official rules, visit the contest tab at 1075thegame.com.
At the Samuels Reynolds Law Firm, we know how serious injuries change people's lives. I'm Jason Reynolds. When you're involved in a major car or truck accident, my team is on your side. You don't have to be alone. Let's do this together.
And I'm Steven Samuels. When you're hurt at work, my team is with you from start to finish. We're people with a passion for helping injured workers. Bring your case to us and stop the worry. We've got this.
Samuels Reynolds. True injuries, true lawyers. 803-779-4000.
Up to 40% of the air in your HVAC system is wasted due to leaky ductwork. Cool Care Heating, Air, Plumbing, and Refrigeration will fix these leaks with AeroSeal duct sealing. Cool Care can save you up to 30% on your utility bills, make your house more comfortable, and your air healthier. Call Cool Care Heating, Air, Plumbing, and Refrigeration today at 803-772-7715 or visit coolcarehvac.com to get a free estimate.
Honey, would you take a seat? I have a confession to make.
What is it? What's wrong?
Well, I was out driving today and I saw some hookers on the side of the road. A bunch of huge, professional, beautiful looking hookers. So I did what I was supposed to do. I slowed down and I moved over.
You slowed down for the hookers?
Well, yeah, it's the law. There was a whole fleet of Schroeder's towing trucks assisting with an accident. Wait, what did you think I was talking about?
Schroeder's Towing reminds you to slow down and move over for all first responders.
Schroeder's Towing, the best and fastest hookers in town.
1075 The Game is giving one local business a free 30-second commercial on our Westwood One broadcast of the Super Bowl. Go to 1075thegame.com. Tell us why your business deserves an ad that will reach sports fans across the Midlands. One entry per business must be submitted by February 7th at 5 p.m. Official rules at 1075thegame.com. WIS-TV First Alert Traffic
is sponsored by Wetzel's Automotive in West Columbia. Wetzel'sAuto.com.
From the WIS Traffic Center, I'm Elijah Campbell with a few accidents to report to you that might be causing some delays on the roadways this Tuesday morning. We'll go ahead and start off with a couple of road closures in Lexington County and Harbison Boulevard, both northbound and southbound near St. Andrews Road, as well as a road closure on Highway 30, both northbound and southbound near St. Andrews Road. Those closures are due to railroad repairs and maintenance. An accident recently been reported on Andrew Corley Road,
20
Lake Drive in Lexington County. It's causing some mild traffic backup, as well as one in I-26 eastbound between Augusta Road, exit 111, and Airport Boulevard in Lexington County. An accident has been reported on Priceville Road at US 378.
The Early Game with Bill Gunter, Preston Thorne, and Shen Jensen. Your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia. 107.5 The Game. Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
$8:17 as we roll along on a Tuesday morning, getting you ready for tonight's game. South Carolina now ranked 15th in the most recent AP Top 25 poll. They finally make their debut. First time in the top 25 since 2017. That year, South Carolina would go on to make their only appearance in the Final Four. Ironically, that was in Phoenix. And now a lot of people starting to wonder if maybe lightning can strike twice. Got to get through tonight. Got to get through February. Got to get through the SEC tournament. Joining us now to discuss what South Carolina could do moving forward, the one and only Jeff Barzillo of ESPN. And Jeff, man, good to hear from you. Hadn't talked to you in a while, but glad to have you back.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man.
It's, you and I used to have conversations back in the day when we were running around doing recruiting, and we would talk about all kinds of national college basketball. We never talked South Carolina basketball because there wasn't a lot of reason. Now we have a reason. What has been your overall take on this team this year as they've kind of moved into your vision and you having to pay attention to them a little bit?
Well, just I guess the first thing is just what a job that Lamont Paris has done this season. And I'm sure I'm not the only one to think this, but when they signed Gigi Jackson, I was kind of concerned because I didn't think that the roster around him would be good enough where he would make, kind of a tangible impact on winning. And, that wasn't his fault. It was just, that kind of comes with taking over a pretty big rebuild. And my thought was, okay, he's going to leave after a year. Then it's going to be another rebuild year 2. So then suddenly Paris is going into year 3 without a winning record. And people are going to say, oh, well, this guy had an NBA draft pick and couldn't win. And then suddenly the pressure's on. And he's completely flipped it. And it's just, he's struck gold in the portal. He's done a good job with roster retention, keeping guys that want to be there, that are ready to make an impact. And he's just, to me, it's probably between him and Danny Hurley for Coach of the Year nationally. I just think it's just a tremendous job what he's done. 4 SEC road wins in this season where it's impossible for even top 10 teams to win on the road in conference play. He's won 4 road games in league play. And to me, it's just really impressive what he's done. And it's not a fluke. I mean, 19 wins at this point is not a fluke. And I wrote this earlier in the week that, their metrics are starting to catch up with their, records-based and results-based metrics. Efficiency-wise, they're 4th in the SEC, which seems, pretty accurate. And, their net is starting to rise. Their KenPom is starting to rise. And so it seems like the program under him is just on a really nice trajectory right now.
Talking to ESPN's Jeff Borzello. And Jeff, seeing South Carolina's name at the top of the SEC standings here in early February was just not something that a lot of people foresaw. And I mean, when you look at a lot of these teams, I know winning at Tennessee it was one of the biggest, or I guess most impressive wins anyone's had this year, and beating Kentucky the way they did, even with Kentucky's defensive struggles. It was pretty much a statement win. But looking at them now, we still have a month of SEC basketball to play. Where do you see SEC or South Carolina in the SEC hierarchy when you're talking about where they're probably going to finish towards the end of the year and where they might end up being in the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, I mean, right now I think they're probably 3rd or 4th, probably 4th in the SEC overall. I mean, to me, it's their defense is not, it travels and it's consistent, and that's something that's not going away. I mean, 4 of their last 5 opponents have been held under 1 point per possession. The only team to score above that was Georgia, and I think they held them to about 22 points in the second half. So that defense is just, it's legitimate. I mean, it's consistent, and they held Tennessee to 20 points below their average. They held Kentucky to almost 30 points below their average. They don't foul, they don't allow second chances, they get back in transition. That stuff matters, especially come late February and March in the postseason. When you have consistency and you can get stops at that end of the floor, you can kind of manufacture points. But if you can get stops, that'll keep you in any game, especially when things get tighter and things heat up and refs start letting things go. And I don't know. I'm confident that South Carolina is going to keep this going just because of that defense. Their offense isn't always there, but it's balanced, and they kind of figure it out most nights who can get points. But I think at the end of the day, they're still going to be one of the 4 or 5 best teams in the SEC. I think Tennessee is good. I think Auburn's good. I think Alabama is, starting to look like, a typical Nate Oates team from the past few years. And then it's probably South Carolina and Kentucky. And I think that's a pretty, compared to what people thought South Carolina would be in the preseason, 4th or 5th in the SEC, people would take it. And I think in terms of the tournament, right now they're probably a 5 or a 6 seed. They're going to be wearing home jerseys in the first round of the NCAA tournament. And that's just kind of a remarkable season.
He's Jeff Barzillo with ESPN joining us this morning, taking a look at South Carolina basketball. But also real quick, Jeff, let's take a look around college basketball. I have said, to me, this is one of the best seasons of college basketball for me in the last 25 or 30 years. And you mentioned it, just teams. Last night, Kansas loses to Kansas State, overtime, another good game. You had 3 top 10 matchups this weekend alone in Duke and North Carolina, Houston and Kansas, and Tennessee and Kentucky. Your overall take on the health of college basketball in 2023, 2024?
I mean, it's the most unpredictable I've maybe ever seen it. It seems like there's more good teams than ever before. It seems like there's more evenly matched games than ever before. You mentioned the Kansas State game last night, and I thought Kansas would win that game, but was I shocked that Kansas State won it? No. I mean, it's just going on the road now it's really, really hard to win. And that's, that's why I mentioned the South Carolina 4 league road wins before, because nobody's doing that. There's huge splits among a lot of, even good teams in college basketball that are just really bad away from home. I mean, Utah, Nebraska, teams that are theoretically in the tournament right now, they just can't win away from home. And to me, that's kind of the variable. Like if you can get road wins, that's really saying something. And so that's kind of been the overarching theme for me for college basketball this season, is that all these good teams, when they go on the road, it's suddenly a really competitive game, regardless of who they're playing. And that's kind of why I think UConn and Purdue are really the only two teams that have separated themselves. Carolina, Tennessee, go down the line, Kansas, Marquette, Houston. These are teams that have struggled away from home. UNC lost to Georgia Tech last week, and Tennessee has lost, and Kansas obviously lost last night. Marquette's had some struggles a month ago. So that's kind of been the thing. I don't think there's I guess you could say UConn and Purdue are the favorites going into March. I think it's going to take a lot for people to be believers in Purdue to win the championship after losing in the first round last season. But I think the Final Four, I mean, we saw last year how wide open it was, and I think this year might be even more wide open than a year ago.
Again, he's Jeff Borzillo. Just a few minutes left with him from ESPN as he covers college basketball. You're down here, obviously, football heavy. A lot of people look at NIL and the impact it's having on football and the transfer portal. In basketball, in your coverage of it, how do you see NIL impacting basketball recruiting, basketball transfers, and how do you see the transfer portal impacting the game?
It's made a sizable impact. Now the thing is, and this won't change regardless of how much players can make, is you still can't miss in the portal. I mean, if you're going to rely heavily on the transfer portal to win, you can't have a lot of misses. And we've seen that and you look at Arkansas, and Eric Musselman was, one of the founders of building teams via the portal. He had a few misses this year, and they're having a down year. And I think we're seeing that with Villanova. They kind of built their entire season this year. Okay, we're going to have a big bounce back year. We're going to go in the portal and get 3 or 4 guys that can start for us. They had a pretty big NIL budget. Same with Arkansas. And they go in, they have a few misses, and suddenly they're having a disappointing year also. Miami, all these teams that you kind of point to and say, yeah, they're one of the bigger disappointments in college hoops this year. They are built primarily via the portal, and they're having misses. And that to me is kind of a wrinkle, because you're putting so many eggs in the portal basket, and if you bring in 5-6 guys and 3 of them don't work out, you're going to have a down year. And that's the difference between that and building around freshmen, is that if you do that with freshmen, you kind of have optimism going forward. You say, okay, we're going to keep building. We're going to get better and better. These transfers are gone after a year. And so you're going to have to go back into the portal again, likely. And again, you can't have 3 misses. And so I think that's kind of the wrinkle with all the portal and NIL stuff, is that, you can have a big budget. You can say, we're going to go get 5-6 guys from the portal. We're going to go get the best guys from the portal. But if you miss, it kind of sets you back, and you're kind of forced into the cycle of going into the portal year after year.
About one more minute here real quick, Jeff. This, Saturday and Sunday was some of the best college basketball weekends with 4 top 10 matchups, a monster slate it was. Who do you think made the biggest, statement in terms of landing a big win and what was a loaded weekend of college basketball?
Well, it sounded better before last night, but I think Kansas kind of made the biggest statement. Houston's defense is historically good. They came into the day as the best defense in the country, and they still are the best defense in the country statistically. One of the best defenses in the last 20 years, and Kansas just torched them. And coming out of that, I said, okay, well, Kansas might be back in this Final Four conversation. A loss in overtime in Kansas State doesn't change that. And I do think that with the emergence of Johnny Furphy, their freshman from Australia, they do kind of have the starting 5 at least that can compete and win 4 games to get to the Final Four. So I came out of this past weekend, most impressed by them. And then Purdue, I thought it was noteworthy that nobody really batted an eye at Purdue going into Wisconsin, which was ranked 6th in the country, and getting a road win without Zach Edey, playing his best. I thought that was, that really kind of raised my eyebrows as, okay, this team is legit, that nobody's really surprised that this happened, that Zach Edey didn't score 30 and grab 20 rebounds, and Purdue kind of, seemed to be in control of that game for most of it.
Jeff, we appreciate it, man. Love following you on Twitter. Obviously, I've gotten into Premier League more, so I follow you on that as well. And but always appreciate and hope to have you back here towards the end of February, maybe as we get close to the conference tournament time and March Madness, and get your opinions then.
Yeah, sounds great, man. Thanks for having me on.
Glad to do it. Jeff Barzillo of ESPN does a great job. If you're not already, make sure you follow him at Jeff Barzillo is the way to do that. BORE. Is it?
Blythewood Road at I-77. Blythewood Road.
BORZELLO is Jeff Barzillo. That's how you can follow him. We'll come back. We'll get some thoughts from that, the college basketball scene as well. Talk a little Super Bowl as well. You're listening to Elijah Campbell, Bill Gunner. He's producer Ed Bird. It's the early game.
The Game Network. The home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 100.5 The Game in Florence. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. Also on the 107.5 The Game app and streaming live on The Game TV. Powered by Integrated Media. The Game TV. Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. A true reflection of quality. The Game TV.
Invest in over 30 cryptocurrencies on Netcoins, America's low-fee crypto trading platform. Take advantage of zero funding fees, fast trading, plus a $25 credit with code NFL 2024. Netcoins. Crypto investing made easy. Download the app today at netcoins.com.
Scott here from Traditions with great news for you guys who need to buy a Valentine's Day gift. We know you have a lot of choices, but nothing communicates affection like a gift of jewelry. And at Traditions, we take Valentine's Day very seriously. So when you come to see us for Valentine's Day, depending on what you purchase, you're going to walk away with something extra. That's right. With your purchase of just $149, you'll also get 3 red roses. And if you choose to spend just a little more...
On the baseline, shoots it up over Vanover. Got it!
I take a lot of pride in being from South Carolina. It's part of why I chose the school. I just want them to know, man, I got love for this school. I think the school loves me as well. And just a guy that gave it his all while he was here and just made continuous improvement and just a winner, man. A guy that really wanted to win and left it all on the court every time.
Everyone says they care about the team and they care about winning, but, I think this group especially is all about winning.
When I'm in the huddle with my teammates, when we're on the road, when we're going up against somebody, I just always tell them, be us. Be who we are. Don't try to be nobody else. Like, you can look at it and be like, well, doing something right now. You know what I'm saying? We just want to stay on that path. Stay on that path to greatness and stay on that path to march.
So you're going to want to call somebody you can trust, and that is the Gantt girls at Pioneer Tree Service. And now there's a new little Gantt girl, Dawson. We got all the Gantt girls in the room.
We do tree removal, stump removal, tree pruning, tree trimming, tree thinning, tree cabling, and we will raise your tree canopy.
And no matter where you live, the Gantt girls can get there. So, hey, Gantt girls, how do they get in touch with you?
Call us today for a free estimate at 803-794-8253 or check us out online at pioneertreesc.com.
At Progressive, we're making things even easier. We'll help you bundle your home and car insurance together so you could save on both. Learn more at progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE.
This is Bill Gunn for Old Timey Meat Market. I spend my nights with my son, my daughter, enjoying cooking out with Old Timey Meat Market Foods. And you need to visit one of their 3 locations, St. Andrews, South Congaree, and Lexington, where you'll find their shelves stocked with various cuts and grades of beef, pork, poultry, seafood, and of course, exotic meats. Selections are always fresh, never frozen, competitively priced, and of the absolute highest quality. So get all of your needs at Old Timey Meat Market.
Old Timey Meat Market. Quality selection.
a color above the rest. When it comes to comfort, you can rely on Brian's Heating and Cooling. Here's Eric Moan.
Brian and his wife are very good people. I've gotten to know them as a family. And to me, that's a great tiebreaker in an industry where you could choose a whole lot of different providers. Somebody that you get along with on a personal level is a big plus for me. He is a stand-up guy, and they do good work. And really, you can't do better than that.
Call Brian's Heating and Cooling at 796-1788.
1075 The Game is giving one local business a free 30-second commercial on our Westwood One broadcast of the Super Bowl. Go to 1075thegame.com. Tell us why your business deserves an ad that will reach sports fans across the Midlands. One entry per business must be submitted by February 7th at 5 p.m. Official rules at 1075thegame.com. WIS-TV First Alert Traffic
is sponsored by Wetzel's Automotive in West Columbia. Wetzel'sAuto.com.
From the WIS Traffic Center, I'm Elijah Campbell with a few accidents to report to you that might be causing some delays on the roadways this Tuesday morning. We'll start with a couple of road closures in Lexington County, one on Harbison Boulevard, both northbound and southbound near St. Andrews Road, and then on Highway 60, both northbound and southbound 30 Andrews Road. That's closed due to railroad repairs and maintenance. Some other accidents today in Lexington County on Andrew Corley Road at North Lake Drive. Another one in Richland County, Blythewood Road near I-77 in Northeast Columbia. I-20 eastbound at South Carolina, 277 exit 73. That accident has recently been
10.
On I-26 eastbound between Augusta Road and exit 111 and Airport Boulevard. And an accident on Lexington Hills Parkway at South Lake Drive.
What you're talking about. Sponsored by Love Chevrolet. On your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia, 107.5 The Game. Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
Big thank you again to Jeff Borzillo joining us this morning to not just talk South Carolina basketball, but college basketball as a whole. When your team is winning, it makes it more fun to discuss the sport of college basketball. And tonight, Elijah, it's actually a really good night, depending if you're not going down to Colonial Life Arena for whatever reason, and you're just going to sit at home, you're actually going to be treated to a pretty fun night of college basketball. Again, Mississippi, South Carolina. Pre-game right here, 107.5 The Game, 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. Pre-game will start at 6 p.m. and then tip time 6:30. Game will be televised on SEC Network. 3 6:30 games tonight. You've got Mississippi, South Carolina, number 15th ranked South Carolina. Rutgers at Maryland tonight on the Big Ten Network. And at 6:30 also the old Fighting Rick Pitino's, DePaul and St. John's. And I cannot give you a good reason to watch DePaul play basketball at any point.
There is none.
Yeah, in the last 25 years. There's nothing to do that. But you got Mississippi, South Carolina, so that's all you need one TV for. 7 o'clock tonight, nice little slate of games. Clemson and North Carolina. Clemson looks for victory number 2 in Chapel Hill. They will look to pick up that second victory. Tigers losing already to Clemson earlier this season, 75-65 at Little John Coliseum. Armando Bacot had a monster game back in January on the 6th. 14 points, 16 rebounds. He stepped up this weekend for the Tar Heels with 25 points.
Yeah, huge. 25 points, 10 rebounds, and like 5 assists, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he stuffed the stat sheet. For a guy that a lot of people pinned as the preseason All-American for North Carolina, he's basically been like the wingman to RJ Davis all year. It was the roles have kind of reversed a little bit, but against Duke, man, he was the difference maker in that game.
We asked Jeff Borzillo about the impact of NIL in college basketball. I think personally, Armando Bacot is poster boy for what NIL can do in college basketball as opposed to college football, because there's a lot of good reasons, and he's done them. Armando Bacot, I do not think will be a pro for very long. He just something about him. He's big, 6'10", 6'11". He's got a good sized physical body, 235, 240, 245, I guess, depending on who you want to ask. But there's really no reason. Like, Do people realize? Do you realize Armando Bacot's been in college for 5 years?
A long time.
Most people would have assumed after the Final Four run in 2021, 2022, he was going to go pro. And he stuck around because of NIL money he received from North Carolina fans. And last year, his scoring average actually went down 0.4 of a point, mind you, but it went down to 15.9 points per game. And then this year, he's actually down 3 points from where he was during that Final Four run. He's averaging just 13.9 points per game. But I think Armando, if there's no NIL, I think Armando Bacot goes pro after his junior year, probably still around the league, sitting on the bench somewhere.
G League, probably.
But because of that, look, college basketball has benefited because a guy like Armando Bacot has been in college for 5 years, because I would imagine if you're an ACC fan, you probably don't like him.
No, he's beating your team a lot.
and quite honestly, even myself over the weekend on Sunday morning when I woke up and saw the headline where Bacot claims ACC runs through him, and I went, that's annoying. Please don't do that. You annoy me now.
Him specifically. You know what's really funny, though? Armando Bacot was in the same recruiting class as Cole Anthony. Cole Anthony is in his 4th year playing for the Orlando Magic.
That's my point. There is now NIL, I think, benefits because when you have 2 rounds of college basketball drafts, you now look at it and go, should I go? Should I not go? Oscar Sheetway stayed an extra year.
As a Wooden Award winner.
Where he would not have in the past.
Zach Edey, too.
I was going to say Zach Edey is another good one, another good example. But yeah, tonight, Clemson and North Carolina, that game's 7:00. Jay Williams, by the way, on the call for that game in particular tonight up in Chapel Hill. Clemson, again, looking to pick up victory number 2. It would be their first one since 2020. Likely, if you want to see a former Gamecock get whipped, and I hate to say this because he's a good friend of mine, Mike Boynton, who Oklahoma State just got smashed. It was a week ago tonight, a week ago last Wednesday, I believe. They went to Fog Allen Fieldhouse and lost 83-54. 83. This is college basketball in a nutshell. Remember Jeff Borzillo just saying how hard it is to go on the road and win somewhere?
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma State last week went on the road to Kansas and got beat 83-54. On Saturday, Kansas State went on the road to Stillwater and lost to Oklahoma State 75-72. And then last night, you have Kansas State 75-70 in overtime. There's college basketball in a nutshell.
Yep.
But if you want to catch it tonight, Oklahoma State and Houston, I enjoy watching Houston play. Kelvin Sampson feels like he's years removed from all kinds of NCAA allegations.
Yeah, he was his NCAA allegations involved him calling a recruit too much on a flip phone, which feels hilarious now in hindsight that was what he got in so much trouble for. But if you haven't watched Houston play defense this year, that might be the most entertaining team in college basketball because they are just so freakishly athletic. They're so long, and there's not a more aggressive ball screen defense in all of college basketball. They trap all over the floor. And it's a lot of fun to watch, man. And the fact that Kansas almost shot 70% from the field
unbelievable
on them is mind-numbing. I literally cannot get my brain to grasp a team against that defense shooting that well.
If you want to do a little scouting tonight, a little pre-scouting, stick around after the South Carolina-Mississippi game on SEC Network. Kentucky travels to Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt, the next opponent here on Saturday. So if you want to get a little scouting action in, Vanderbilt, 6-15 on the season now, 1-7 in conference play. So you're not watching, you're hoping for a good game if you're going to stick around and watch it. Kentucky, by the way, falling all the way to number 17 in the most recent AP Top 25 poll.
Yeah, and they're lucky that they're 17
Really
because
are.
the way they're playing defense, they've fallen out of the top 100 in defensive efficiency. They are very disinterested on the defensive side of the ball, whether it's they're disinterested or they haven't figured out a lot of the concepts that they're trying to employ. Whichever one it is, it's not very good. You give up 103 points at home with a couple of those baskets being way too easy for Tennessee. Kentucky's got a lot of trouble. And if they have any trouble with Vanderbilt tonight, which, maybe 10 years ago, going to Memorial Gym would have been a trap for Kentucky. But that place is going to be 90% Kentucky fans. That's a de facto home game for them. They got to be able to show they can take care of a little bit of business tonight.
It'd be interesting to see where Vanderbilt continues to go with Jerry Stackhouse. in that tenure. Because again, 6-15, 1-7 in conference play are the Commodores right now. And you're right. It used to be, man, got to go to Memorial Gymnasium, odd setup, benches under the goal. Now it's kind of like, hey, now we got to go to Memorial Gymnasium. This is going to be kind of cool.
Game.
Yeah, we're gonna see what it's like. One other game tonight, 9 p.m. ESPN, Texas Tech and Baylor. Number 23 Texas Tech, number 13 Baylor will take on each other as well. 803-404-6100. By the way, one other good game tonight if you have ESPN Plus. I didn't mention just because it's on ESPN Plus. Oklahoma was ranked at one time. I think they were as high as number 12, if I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I don't know if they got into the top 10. They are on the outside looking in. They will host number 21 Baylor. That game will be again on ESPN Plus. It's in Norman. Just FYI, if you've got ESPN Plus and you want to check out a little more, maybe it is that time of year when you start talking, South Carolina NCAA tournament. Maybe you take time to watch 5 or 6 minutes of another team just to go, I wonder if they end up in our bracket come March Madness.
Hey, South Carolina's getting to the point now where the seeding might be high enough. You might want to start using that ESPN Plus subscription to watch some, I don't know, Indiana State games, some teams that might be the 14 seed. Lenardi had them playing Indiana State last week, and I was like, I don't want any part of that.
It's a good point.
No part of that.
Good point. 803-404-6100. We'll come back. We'll wrap up Tuesday morning edition of the early game.
The Game Network. The home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 100.5 The Game in Florence. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach.
Also on the 107.5 The Game app and streaming live on The Game TV.
2024 is here. And now normally that means some great news, but not as it involves taxes. The IRS is planning to send out their dreaded notices of intent to levy in 2024. And if you've received this notice from the IRS, you and your business may be in some trouble. But you know what? There's always a superhero to call. And in that case, it would be the Ecton Law Firm. But time is limited. Call the Ecton Law Firm today for a free consultation at 803-771-9800. With proven local solutions, the Ecton Law Firm has helped thousands of families and businesses just like yours escape the IRS maze. So take the first steps towards a worry-free life today by calling the John Ecton Law Firm. Get that free consultation, 803-771-9800. Visit them on the web, ectonlawfirm.com. That's ECTON lawfirm.com. Call the Ecton Law Firm today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
Hey guys, the game wants to help you not strike out Valentine's weekend. We're giving you a chance for you.
Punxsutawney Phil has an overall accuracy rating of 36% nationally. This was in 2021, 36% nationally. Now, those numbers can get skewed a little bit because in the Northeast, it tends to be colder for longer. But when you extrapolate his numbers out for the rest of the regions in the Southwest, the Southeast, Punxsutawney Phil, the fraud, only gets up to 50% nationally. Only 50%. You're saying, oh, what does that mean? That's still pretty good. It's not. It's not. There are 6 other rodent prognosticators that are above Punxsutawney Phil. Number 1, our guy, General Beauregard Lee. General Beauregard Lee has a 63% accuracy rating nationally, 70% when you extrapolate it for just the South. This guy is crushing Punxsutawney Phil, but yet we still are talking about Punxsutawney Phil. He's a fraud, Bill. He's a fraud. Not only that, Buckeye Chuck. This guy, Buckeye Chuck, is crushing. He's number 2. But you know who else is ahead of him? Let me go to my list.
Who exactly is Buckeye Chuck?
Buckeye Chuck is in Ohio, Bill.
Makes sense.
It's bad. I got. Thank goodness we got
Buckeye
that
Chuck
one.
is in Ohio. But let's go to this list. We got Jimmy the Groundhog.
Oh, just Jimmy.
Jimmy the Groundhog. Lander Lil. Stormy the Marmot. Smomish Slew. Finally, after all of those guys, we come down to Punxsutawney Phil. But who gets all the credit? Who gets all the notoriety? Punxsutawney Phil. And it's only because he was there a long, long time ago. He was an originator. I'll give you credit. He was an originator, but the game of guessing and predicting weather has passed him by. He's a fraud. It's overrated. It's time for him to get out the game. Give the throne to General Beauregard Lee. All I'm saying is he's overrated. All of this celebration. These people.
Yeah, you got to get this live stream. We're watching.
It's not about.
How would you describe this?
There's a big
singer?
celebration on, but you know what about these people? It's not about the game anymore. It's about something else. They have ruined the celebrity prognosticator game for these rodents because these guys are working hard. Buckeye Chuck,
are they?
He's working. He's accurately predicting things. Beauregard Lee, 70%, and he can't get any love across the South. No love. Everybody talks about Punxsutawney Phil.
Final segment of the show. I'll be out tomorrow. Preston Thorne will be back as we kind of play some musical chairs here this week. And then we'll all be back together on Thursday morning to start really getting ready for the Super Bowl, to discuss the basketball games for this coming week. And it is fun. I say that again. Look, we all agree the rankings are meaningless. They're irrelevant. There's still a month to go, as many of you have pointed out. More than a month to go. March 9th is, I believe, I think it's the 9th, is the final Saturday of the regular season. And then we'll go into tournament time up in Nashville and see where South Carolina is at that point. And look, I get it. There's a lot of basketball still to be played at this point in time for the Gamecocks. They are only halfway through. Tonight starts the back half of the conference schedule. And if you're wondering, again, Mississippi tonight, Vanderbilt Saturday. And again, we're going to have this conversation, and I know it's not going to make some of you happy because you're just not willing to let go. But you look at this back half of the schedule, Elijah, and what South Carolina has to do to put themselves in position to win the SEC regular season championship. Let's have this conversation because I don't know when we may be able to have it again. Mississippi Vanderbilt, you have to sweep this week.
Mm-hmm.
Trip to Auburn is going to be extremely tough. I mentioned it earlier. Auburn is 12. Auburn is 12th in the AP top 25. Auburn's 18-4. Auburn has
very good.
Auburn has Alabama tomorrow night. They just lost to Alabama on the road, I think 2 weeks ago, 79-75. It was a great game. Stayed up and watched some of that. They get Alabama tomorrow night. So, and they get Florida, by the way. They get Alabama, I should say, in Auburn. They go on the road Saturday to Florida. So they've got a tough little week.
Mm-hmm.
Then they could have South Carolina coming in. They also have Kentucky. They'll play South Carolina, and then they'll play Kentucky, and they still have a game on the road at Tennessee.
They probably have the most brutal of schedules.
That's a rough little go of it. South Carolina, after Auburn next Wednesday night, Valentine's night, by the way, guys, try not to forget that. The following Saturday, they will see the 24th. They will see the same Mississippi team in Oxford. And Oxford is an absolute, much like Tuscaloosa, is an absolute house of horrors for South Carolina basketball for the last 31 years. But you get Mississippi there. That'll be followed by a trip to Texas A&M. A&M's kind of been a disappointment this year.
Very. I'd say outside of Arkansas, the most disappointing team. But Kentucky went there, messed around, and found out that, if you guard Wade Taylor physically, he will shoot 30 free throws. So that could be a trap.
South
be a trap.
South Carolina will start the month of March at home against Florida. Wednesday, March the 6th, current number 6, Tennessee will roar into town looking for revenge, and the season will wrap up at Mississippi State. So by no means is this an easy schedule coming down the stretch. However, as we just kind of mentioned, when you look at Auburn with games against Alabama, games against South Carolina, games against Kentucky and Tennessee, it could be a lot worse. The team you are trying to catch that you're technically behind, you're 2 games behind because of the loss, Alabama, the remainder of the season still has Auburn. They have Kentucky. They have Tennessee.
Yep. And I went through it yesterday and I looked. So here are the teams in the SEC with winning records. Alabama, winning records in conference play. Let me clarify. Alabama, Auburn, South Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, Florida, Ole Miss. So these are the teams that you're battling with for a conference regular season title, or at least to be in the top 4 to start your tournament on that Friday. Games remaining versus teams in that group, Alabama has 6 of them, 4 of those are on the road. Then Auburn has 5 of them, 2 on the road. So does South Carolina, 5 with 2 on the road. Everybody else has 4 or less. And then if you want to look at maybe the gimme games, if you're looking at what I like to call the donkeys of the league at the very bottom.
That's only 2, by the way. There's
Yeah.
only 2 of those, I think.
I would put Arkansas in there because they're dead. They're a corpse.
Ooh, interesting.
I'm going to put Arkansas in there after they completely imploded in Baton Rouge and they're fighting with each other. And it is guys are leaving the team.
If you haven't Googled that after we suggested last week, there's some odd rumors.
It's weird. So I will throw Arkansas just because of how weird it's getting. Alabama only has 1 of those games. It's at home. Auburn has 1 of those games on the road. South Carolina only has 1 of those at home. Vanderbilt. Tennessee has 3 of those games. 1 of them at home. Kentucky's got 3 of those games, 2 at home, and Florida and Ole Miss both have 2 of those games. So if you're looking at it through conference records, South Carolina's got one of the harder remaining conference schedules compared to the teams you're battling for that 4th spot. So it's going to be tough.
Just for the record, also, I heard you mention this a little while ago, or I think you mentioned it a little while ago, or else I was dreaming. You mentioned trying to lock yourself into that Friday seed. This is actually a big one tonight because Mississippi is 5-4 right now. If you take a 3-game lead on them where you can't lose the season series, you've already got the victory over Kentucky, who's 5-4, and you own that tiebreaker, and you have the Florida game to go. It is interesting to look at it as it pertains to SEC tournament time and getting there and then March, so forth and so on. Again, I don't know how often we get to have these conversations.
That's why I love having it right now.
AJ says 1 game at a time, Bill. Now, that's the team. You text that to the team.
Yes.
You don't text that to me because
this is our job.
If I want to look ahead to the March 6th game against Tennessee and just start I will. You might not listen, and I would respect you for that. But no, we're looking ahead because, again, as I mentioned, it's first time ranked since 2017. We'll get more into it. You'll be back later on today.
That's right. I'll be back at 3.
There you go. Thank you for everybody for joining us. Jeff Borzillo for his segment. JC Sherbert, we'll talk to you tomorrow. Bill Gunner for Zerorez with their patented ZR water technology, scientifically proven to keep the carpets, the rugs, the tile, the upholstery, to keep it all looking insanely clean. And you know what? With Valentine's Day just in front of us, you want to have a nice, clean home, don't you? You want your significant other to come home to a nice, clean home that you did not clean. So right now, go ahead, call Zerorez and take advantage of their Valentine's deal. Get 3 rooms of carpet clean for just $109 plus a free hallway. You can give them a phone call, 803-262-4020, or you can book online, ZerorezColumbia.com. Nothing says I love you like a nice, clean home, but you can get that from Zerorez for a great price right now. 3 rooms of carpet clean for $109 plus a free hallway. All you need to do is mention me, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 at the game. 803-262-4020 or schedule with ease online, ZerorezColumbia.com. Zerorez, spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 107.5 The Game.
A great selection of new Chevys is available now at Herndon Chevrolet. The lot is packed with inventory and more is on the way. So shop your hometown Chevy dealer today.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
Brakes for less is what we do. We know.
Y'all have a great day. Stay out of trouble. We'll see you. I'll see you Thursday. Probably no live stream tomorrow because nobody here to set it up. But we'll see you tomorrow. Y'all take care.